Good evening and welcome to the Sports Lock. On tonight's episode, the WBO Latin champion. Of course, I'm talking about boxer Tyrone Buttigieg. Tyrone, you've had a bit of time now for it to settle in. Emotions were high on the night.
Yeah.
Looking back at it now, all of it, how are you feeling?
Very happy, to be honest. Very happy. I feel overwhelmed by the support I've had from the community. Loads of people have sent me messages, have stopped me on the streets, congratulated me. So yeah, over the moon, really.
Your opponent on the night, arguably your toughest one to date. I mean, a previous WBA Latin champion, a former WBA gold winner. The best possible outcome, I guess, when you want to fight someone that's of a high level, does it feel more rewarding when you beat someone like that for a title?
Yeah, 100%. Before the actual fight, you don't really want to be in that fight because you're more nervous. But after the fight and when you get the job done, obviously it's much more rewarding, especially when you see the fight. I've watched it back a few times, and it's very intense and it's a really good watch.
Yeah, you mentioned the fight and how intense it was, and you spoke to my colleague Robin after the fight, and you said you were expecting it to be more mentally draining than physically draining. Is that how it planned out? Is that how it worked out, the fight?
Yeah, the fight was very tough. Mentally, physically, I trained like I trained ever. I usually do like an 8-week preparation. This time I did a 12 because I knew what was coming. I knew that the guy had a very high work rate, and I had to be physically ready to withstand it, and not just physically but mentally ready for when the things got tough, to bite on my gum shield and keep pushing forward.
Because there were moments definitely where your opponent kind of took the fight to you. What were you thinking throughout those 10 rounds when things did get a little bit difficult?
I had been telling myself throughout the whole preparation to keep calm, even though there was going to be chaotic moments where he was going to be throwing loads of punches and I wasn't, because obviously there's so much you can give. It's a 10-round fight and you have to pace yourself for the 10 rounds. So in times where I knew I needed to hold myself a bit to be able to withstand the 10 rounds, I was just telling to myself, keep calm, to control your breathing and think what you're doing. So yeah.
Talk to us a bit about the early game plan for those opening rounds where I suppose you're kind of trying to figure out your opponent, because you can do as much video analysis as possible, and sometimes it is hard to find good videos on your opponents. Tell us about those opening 3 rounds where you're kind of just trying to suss each other out.
To be honest, my initial game plan was to stand in the center of the ring and try and push him back. I honestly expected I was going to hit him. I thought I would push him back because I would be too strong for him, and I will basically neutralize his way of fighting, which is going forward. I thought I was going to be able to do that. But a few rounds in, I noticed that the guy was really tough and he was taking all the clear shots I was landing, and he wasn't going back. So then I had to basically tweak my plan, and I started moving more and tried to fight at more of a distance. And that's, I think, when I started to be more successful.
I've spoken to your coach before, and he's told me that when it comes to points, nadie le gana a Tyrone. I mean, tell us about, because a lot of people that go to watch the boxing, hay mucha gente que se la ha entendido, but I personally don't understand how well the point scoring works. When you're in the ring, are you keeping count more or less of what's going on, if you're on top or not? And how do you, I suppose, evaluate your performance in terms of points?
See, yeah. Basically, yeah, it's true what you're saying. When there's a boxing match, everyone understands, everyone knows, and everyone knows apparently what you need to do to win. But the reality is that very, very few actually know. That's the reality. So, for example, in my last fight, you could see that the guy was throwing probably more punches than I was, especially in the early part of the fight. But when you look at it closely, most of them punches are either not landing or hitting my arms and my gloves. So if he lands like a flurry of punches on my arms or my gloves, and then I throw 2 clean shots to his head, those are the eye-catching shots. So that's what stands out, and that's what really counts. And it's difficult to be able to differentiate that. Only the judges, the people who have actual knowledge in boxing, will be able to say he's landing the clean shots that actually make a difference. So yeah, the crowd might be thinking that the fight is very even, but maybe it's not.
Well, it wasn't, because it was a unanimous decision in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, how was what was your reaction like when you see that not only you've won, but you've won so convincingly as well?
To be honest, when the fight had finished, my coach thought the fight was 6-4, and I was telling him that I thought it was 7-3. Two of the judges called it 7-3, and the third judge called it 8-2, which I think might have been a bit harsh. Maybe my opponent won more than 2 rounds, but I was scoring the fight 7-3 based on that, on what I'm just telling you, that I thought I was landing the cleaner shots. Yeah.
Tell us about the reaction there, because it always gets sold out at Casino Admiral in San Roque. Lots of Gibraltarians make the trip. Of course, there was other Gibraltarians fighting on the card, which did very, very well as well. First of all, your walkout song, Sweet Caroline, fan favourite.
Yeah.
And then how much of the crowd are you kind of soaking in when you're in the ring?
When I'm in the ring, and that song, obviously, to be honest, is not my favourite song. I put it for the people because I know that it gets the crowd going and people enjoy it, and that's what it's all about. It's a night out for the people, really. To be honest, I do remember the last round, in the 10th round. I was quite tired, and I could remember the crowd chanting my name.
Tyrone, yeah.
Yeah, and that really gave me a push, because I knew that I thought I was winning, but I was also aware that the judges might have had a close fight at that point, and I knew that I needed to finish strong in the last 2 or 3 rounds. And I was basically giving my all in the last rounds, and that definitely gave me a little push on the last round. I actually threw 145 punches in the last round, because I've counted it. And usually, on average, boxers will throw between 60 and 80 punches. So I went all out on that on that round, yeah.
Well, we can have a look now, actually, at that last round and highlights of the entire fight. Let's see how Tyrone got on.
And so, to the main event. The waiting was finally over. Tyrone El Bombero Buttigieg, to the tune of Sweet Caroline, made a spectacular entrance through the crowd, a face of pure focus. His opponent was no mug. 31-year-old Layman Benavides of Nicaragua boasted an impressive pro record, 21 wins out of 28 fights. First, the crowd was treated to the national anthems of the respective fighters, and our very own Nathan Payas with a beautiful rendition of Gibraltar, My Homeland. And so, to the action. Stylistically, this was an intriguing one. Tyrone, a real technician, artistic in what he does. Benavides, a rough, tough customer with plenty of experience. As opposed to the undercard, this was a pro fight, remember, so a maximum of 10 rounds now. And it was a cagey start from both men. The early rounds very evenly contested as they tried to figure each other out. Tyrone in particular, so sharp on the counterattack. Rounds 3 and 4, Tyrone began to wrestle some control. His blows were meatier. Although the Nicaraguan probably had a higher output of punches, Tyrone, less wasteful, much more efficient, with a number of hooks and jabs to head and body. But Benavides demonstrated just why he is so highly respected in the super bantamweight class. Solid as a rock, constantly coming forward, keeping the pressure on Tyrone. Round 7 was nerve-wracking. The momentum had swung. Benavides caught Tyrone with some impressive pinpoint shots, fatigue setting in too, just to add to the suspense. But like a true champion, Tyrone responded in the remaining rounds. Defensively sound, gave his opponent very little to work with. Again, his counter-attacking so impressive, razor-sharp, even this far into the fight. At this point, it was more about heart, desire, than technique or anything else. Tyrone forced to dig deeper than ever. He was ahead on points, but Benavides wasn't done yet. Into the 10th and final round, the Nicaraguan, aware he was behind on points, decided to turn the screw by setting a frenetic pace. Tyrone happy to match him. The crowd's chants were deafening. Victory was minutes away. Blow for blow, it was exciting, dramatic, as either fighter let loose. Of course, in boxing, a lasting impression is so important when you think of the judging panel. And so it did go the distance. Half an hour later, both men thought they'd won it, but of course, no one knew anything yet. The suspense, as we all awaited the decision, was unbearable.
Tyrone
Unanimous. Tyrone Buttigieg, nuestro Tyrone Buttigieg, the new WBO super bantamweight Latino gold champion.
Yes, the moment that Tyrone Buttigieg became WBO Latin champion, a year after he became the Latin silver belt champion. Tyrone, that win came with more than just a belt. It came with an official world ranking too. 15th now. Tell us a bit about that.
Over the moon to see myself on that list with some other greats is humbling to say the least. I definitely worked hard to be in that position. That screenshot is staying with me forever to say that I've been well ranked, and in a ranking led by Inoue, which is one of the best pound for pound at the moment. And I think it's truly a historic moment, a real breakthrough for boxing in Gibraltar.
I remember you mentioned that you'd accomplished a dream when you won the Latin silver belt.
Yeah.
You accomplished another dream when you won the gold belt. Now another dream ranked 15. Where do the dreams end? Is there any more dreams?
Yeah, there's always more. I would love to fight for the European title. We're actually currently waiting or hoping to be named mandatory challenger. In that case, if that happens, they will need to communicate to the current champion that I'm the mandatory challenger, and then their team will need to go into negotiations with my team. So we'll see what that happens. If it happens, I think it will. Also, currently there's the IBO world title.
Yeah.
It's become vacant. I'd love a shot at that. Although the IBO is like the least important of the other belts, but but if I give you an example, the IBO world champion at heavyweight is Usyk. So it's the least important, but it's a title which has been held and is held by many great champions. So I'd really love to get an opportunity to fight for that title, and we'll see if in the near future we can get a shot at that.
Well, Tyrone, that's it. That's it for part one. We'll come back in part two talking about what else is to come for the boxer in 2026. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Sports Locker. We're talking to WBO Latin champion boxer Tyrone Buttigieg on what's to come in 2026. And it's going to be a busy one after he was ranked 15th in the world in his division. Tyrone, now that you're ranked 15th, do you feel like the world of boxing is taking notice of you now?
Well, probably. I've had a few offers already in the last couple of weeks. A few people have contacted myself and my manager. I've had some offers. So yeah, I think that overall I've been a bit more noticed, and opportunities will come. I have no doubt.
Well, I suppose now that you hold two belts, everyone must want to get in touch with you and must want a shot at the belts. How does that work in terms of defending the belts, or when you have to vacate one? Tell us a bit about the ins and outs of that.
Usually you get given 4 months to, at least that's what the supervisor of the WBO Latino told us. Well, not the supervisor, the chairman. He told us that we've got 4 months to basically schedule a defense. If not, that you might be stripped of the belt. So we'll have to see. But obviously, like I said before, unless I want to try and become mandatory challenger for the WBO world title, is it worth defending it? So, because when you defend it, obviously you're limiting yourself to who you can fight. Only certain boxers from certain countries are eligible to fight for the Latino title.
So perhaps the possibility is to vacate that to aspire for bigger and greater things, is what you're saying, no?
For example, what I've said before.
Yeah.
The European, IBO World, or maybe other titles with other governing bodies that are not the Latino version.
And I know how busy you are with your full-time job as a fireman as well. So having said all that, how hungry are you to accomplish all of that? Now, especially that you've seen yourself ranked 15th in the world. Is there a hunger to accomplish that?
Yeah. I still feel like I've got some more to give. We ain't finished yet, and I have no doubt that I'm still gonna win some more championship belts. Up to where I'm gonna go, who knows? As long as I'm enjoying myself, and I still got the, how could I say this? The hunger and the work ethic to keep on pushing to accomplish my goals. I'll keep on going. So only time will tell. But I'm telling you that I'll win more championship belts.
That's good, that's good. So when you talk about how far we can go, I mean, looking at the division, looking past the 15th spot, tell us a bit about the boxers there, and is it something that you would one day also want to aspire to maybe challenge someone that is ranked above you?
See, yeah, obviously. The thing with this is that most boxers that are in those world rankings are boxers that are backed by big promoters. So for me to fight them, the offer needs to come from them, because we probably don't have the purchase power to be able to offer them a fight that is attractive for them to come over.
Yeah.
So unless they look at me and they want to offer the fight to me, it probably won't happen. If you get what I'm talking about. So it's really not on me to make that happen, to be honest.
But there could be, speaking of camera, it could be, I suppose, a very rare chance that perhaps the number one who has to take on a challenge for the belt he holds does look lower down the rankings and picks someone like you. Would you accept that challenge? Is that a risk, or would you rather build up slowly to something like that?
Well, if that situation was to happen, which I think is very unlikely for commercial reasons, I would need to evaluate what's at stake financially.
Yeah.
Obviously, because when you're fighting those type of people, what you want to get out of it is the biggest financial reward possible. So in that situation, if that ever happens, I will need to sit down with my team and say, okay, this is the risk. What are the chances of us being able to come out on top here? And if we don't, at least what financial reward are we taking? Put the pros and cons on the table and say, okay, let's go or let's not.
I want to mention that if that opportunity was to come, or any opportunity where you're fighting for another big title, talk a bit about training camps, because I know you had a very tough training camp for this fight. Tell us a bit about the training camps, and of course you're going to say you train hard in all of them, but I understand in this one you had to put that little bit extra shift in.
Yeah. To be honest, I train a lot always when I'm in preparation for a fight. This time I did push that little bit extra in terms of I did a longer preparation, because obviously I work with parameters. For example, I do certain runs, certain distances. I want to do them in certain times, or certain hit sessions. I want to, for example, extend those sessions. You need time for your body to adapt, to be able to push on those boundaries. So that's why I did a longer preparation. But you've also got to be careful, because you can overtrain yourself, then injuries come with it, and it's difficult, especially when you consider that I've got a full-time job.
Yeah,
you've also
it's
got
a physical job as well.
Yeah, you've also got to think that you've got a social life, and it's not easy. It's very complicated. It takes a lot of sacrifice, and you've got to really want it to do this.
And recovery is also important, and I know you take it very seriously, because you do cryo chamber, I think it is as well.
Cryotherapy.
Cryotherapy, and I don't know the exact number, but the numbers, you go in, then it drops to well below zero.
Yeah, I think
tell us a bit about that and how useful it is for recovery.
Yeah, I think it's minus 87 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius, which is not as Celsius is lower. So it's tough.
Is that tougher than the training sometimes?
Probably. It's the longest 3 minutes of your life. You've got like a screen, like a tablet outside where you can see, and it starts with 180 seconds. It's 3 minutes. It's the longest 3 minutes of your life, really. It's very tough. Yeah.
You mentioned how difficult it is, and you mentioned your full-time job there as a fireman. Talking about the personal and the emotional side, I mean, what sacrifices have you had to make these last few years since you turned pro in order to achieve the dreams you've accomplished?
Firstly, say goodbye to many social gatherings, many parties, birthdays, going with your friends, with your girlfriend, and workmates to do stuff. You gotta say goodbye to that. You gotta be willing to get in your training sessions even on days where you ain't feeling like you wanna train. Whether it's raining, public holiday, anything. Whether you're not feeling very well, you gotta push. So it is a very big sacrifice, especially when you also gotta complement it with your full-time job. People who make a living out of this have just got to train, rest. That's it. So for them, I guess it's easier. But it is what it is. When you want something, you gotta be willing to do whatever it takes.
And I suppose when you get to see and keep these two belts, we can talk a bit about them, because that one you explained is the exact same design as the world champion belt.
Yeah.
And I have to agree, I think I like that one a little bit more as well. When you look at these and you've got them at home, I mean, what crosses through your mind?
It's unbelievable, really, because if I would have told you this 3 years ago, no one would have probably believed me. So I look at them and I look back and I say, you know, look how far we've come. I've accomplished stuff which people thought were not possible to accomplish in Gibraltar. And I think that now when I announce that I'm going to fight for a title, now people actually believe that we can actually win it. So we've come a long way. I think I've paved the way for future generations. And I think for me that is one of the most important things. ¿Sabes? Okay, yeah. Now the younger generations and the people following behind me know that it's possible. So, and I think it inspires them.
And there was a couple of young fighters, I think 2 17-year-olds that fought the nights of the title fight. I mean, you're probably quite focused on your battle, but does it excite you really knowing that you're setting, like you said, you're paving the way for these young 17-year-olds to fight? And when you get to watch them fight, what do you think?
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely excites me. I can see as well how they look up to me, and that's very rewarding, if just to say the least. And it motivates me to accomplish more as well.
We're running out of time, so I wanted to ask a kind of final question, Tyrone. What message do you have now for the super bantamweight division, now that Tyrone Buttigieg is a world-ranked champion?
What's the matter? You know that I'm quite a grounded person. I'm not a very talkative person. I like actions to speak louder than any words can possibly can, because I'm a firm believer that people will remember you for you accomplish and not for what you say. It's not up to me to have a message for them. They will now know I'm there, and we'll always be open to any offers, and time will tell what happens.
Tyrone, thank you very much. I suppose 2026, watch this space?
100%. Stay tuned, because we haven't finished yet.
Thank you, Tyrone.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's Sports Locker. The words of the WBO Latin champion Tyrone Buttigieg here, with a busy 2026 to come. Stay tuned. Good night.